Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the island of Tiree on X-Plane tonight. And we're continuing. This is part 3 of our tour to Hebridean Air's destinations that they fly to from, I think it's from Oban and Iona. And tonight we're on Tiree, and the plan is to fly to Colonsay. Now let's have a look. Let's have a look on the map. So we are here on Tiree, and Colonsay is to the southeast, down here, just sort of north of Iona. Now, technically, I'm not sure whether you can actually hop around the islands like this. I suspect more like there's individual flights from Oban maybe to or Iona to the islands, but not in a round trip. But hey, it's a simulator, so we can do the round trip. So I think tonight that Colonsay doesn't seem to have any procedures, so it's going to have to be a visual approach. I'm going to take a bearing here just to help us out. Let's get the bearing in distance. So when we take off, we want about 142 degrees and it's 34 miles. But what I'd like to do is, if we can see it clearly, is fly to Iona, fly over Iona. I'd be interested to see, I've not been there for a long time, I'd be interested to see if Orbix have included the Abbey on Iona or not. If not, just a nice chance to see Iona and the fantastic beach at the north end of the island. Okay, so yeah, so the routing hopefully will actually be more like this. Let's jump into the cockpit. One change that I have made. Okay, so in the last video, there's a couple of things. First of all, I forgot to descending down on downwind and getting ready to land. I forgot to put the prop and mixture full forward. So you can see if I can not repeat that tonight. The other thing I've done is I realised that I wasn't really using the carpet, or I haven't got anything bound to it. So I thought I had bound. I've got a kind of spare throttly thing on the joystick, and I thought I'd just bound that to the carpet. Let me just double check that, because I'm pretty sure I did set this up. So Profile Islander. Lost the whole thing. Just a bit of a USB disconnect, I think there. Let's just wait for the joystick to come back. That's fine. So yeah, if you look at down here, there's the handbrake, the parking brake, which is on, and these two levers here control carb heat, which you can use to prevent or fix carb icing. I'm not really needed to use them yet, but I've now at least got them bound to something. So I'll talk about that a little bit when we're in the flight. I think we've still got our trusty passengers, which is good. So let's get this thing going. In fact, before we get this thing going, let's just do some planning. We need to at least let's check the weather conditions and wind on the grounds here in Tiree. So that's EGPU. And the wind is sort of from the north. Let's get the airport diagram up. I guess we could use this runway here. It's only short, but 3,000 feet. That's probably enough for an islander, maybe. So, yeah, I think we'll give this one a go. Runway 35, because the wind is what? The wind is 320. So, yeah, let's give 35 a go. So I'm going to set the heading bug to 350. I probably should have turned it left instead of right. 351 to be exact. What about Colonsay? So we have choice of runway 10 or runway 28. So I guess runway 10. Or maybe we'll see what the weather says when we get nearer. So let's hold on that for now. Altimeter 1028, and is that off the chart? Yep, it's off the chart. Let's just figure out what that is in inches. 1028 is 30.36 inches. Which is probably about there, and 38 feet. Yep, I'm happy with that. I just set the other altimeter as well. Oops. Okay, I think that's approximately right. Let's get started. Battery on, beacon on, lights turned up a bit. We've got parking brake on. We can turn on the mags. Turn on. Fuel selectors are on, even though I did turn them off, I think, at the end of the last flight. Fuel pumps can come on. Prop and up, a mixture of full forward. Prime the throttles a bit. We should be good to start. Let's start the right engine. Nope. Again, I forget to turn the isolator on for the starters. At least I consistently do that. I keep forgetting to turn on the right generator after starting the right engine as well. We can get the avionics on. Not sure we'll be using them tonight. And let's just think what else we've got to do. Okay, so we want the engines. We need to warm up the engines a little bit. Just lean them a little bit for idle here. I don't want to overheat them or anything, but I think they'll be okay. Also, we can watch the oil temperature come up. And this time we'll try and remember to turn the transponder onto alt before we take off. Height-wise, we're heading southeast, so if you're heading east, it should be even thousands of feet. And if we're going VFR, then add 500. So let's go 4,500. Sorry, east is odd, not even. So we're talking about 3,500 or 5,500. So let's go 3,500 just because we want to get a good view of Iona if we can, and we haven't. The flight's not that long, so we'll go with that. And oil temperature is coming up. I'm just gonna bump up the RPM a bit here to try and warm things up a bit more quickly. While we're doing that, let's get the other switches that we need on. So cabin lights, passenger notices. We might as well put the nav lights on. Try and remember to turn the pitos on when we get to the runway. In fact, I think we're probably okay to go for like a nice sort of casual speed taxi now whilst we're warming up. Seems we've probably got a little bit of distance to go, so we need to turn round here and then head back along Alpha and then right, and we'll try this runway 35. Okay, and we just turn the lights on actually, so we don't have taxi lights, but we'll turn the landing lights on for taxi. And we can turn the fuel pumps off for now. And just let the engine pumps do the work. And we're nearly in the green on the oil temperature now anyway, so we should be fine. So we should have a right turn ahead of us, and that should take us onto runway 35. And we'll do our run-up checks at the end of that. Okay. Fairly short runway, so let's try and make sure we use all of it. Okay, parking brake on. Mix you forward. While I remember, P-toes on. Let's go up to 2100 and do mag checks. Right, number 2. Number 1. Yep. Back down to 1500 to cycle the props. We'll do that a couple of times. Now, I think we should check that the carburetor heat is working. I'm not sure what RPM you do that at. I don't know whether we'll see anything at 1500 here. So if we go to 1500, and if I open the carb heat, I would expect to see a drop, maybe in RPM, or maybe in manifold pressure. I don't know. Let's see what happens if we put carb heat on full. I don't really see anything other than these gauges, which kind of look like carb temperature. So I guess that indicates it's working, because if the carb temperature is way up at 40, then alright, I'm going to leave them for now, leave them shut. Okay, what do we need? We need flaps. We need our fuel pumps back on. We have trim ready for takeoff. We have mixing props forward. As it's a shortish field, I'm going to just rev up a bit, and we check our heading bug, and it's aligned with the runway. Oh yeah, so and after takeoff, it's a right turn to 142 degrees. So I'm just going to get some revs going before I let the brake off. Foot brakes off. To rotate at 65. There we go. Actually got plenty of runway. No gear to come up. There seems to be a bit of a side wind or something. I'm just going to turn the heading bug to 145. And I'm gonna just raise the flaps. Just bring the props back to 2500, and we'll start our turn. Now, don't forget we departed to the north, so we have to get right back round to 145 degrees. Actually, that's the bearing to Colonsay, which really we want probably slightly less than that, maybe about 120 degrees to take us towards Iona. So let's kind of bring that, well, let's just bear that in mind. if we head approximately 120 for now. I'm going to take the fuel pumps off. We should be able to tell once we can see Mull. So I'm kind of looking for the sticky out bit of Mull. We'll have a look on the map in a minute. Let's go 120 for now. And we'll keep climbing. Just going to give us some rudder trim. So we do have some small islands there in front of us off to the left. Those may give us a clue if we have a look on the map. Don't want the aircraft on there because that's cheating. It would be nice to have a map. Yeah. Okay. I wonder if those are those islands. In which case, there's how many of them there? Yeah, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like a kind of Loch Ness monster. That'll be those. So if we skirt around the south of, in fact, that one by quite a bit. Then Iona is more in this direction. That's Iona there. We only seem to have one zoom level on the map at the moment. Let's leave the map up for a minute. I think that's probably Iona down here. 3,500 feet we're heading to, so we'll keep climbing for now. Is there anything else we need to turn off? Yep, we can turn off the lights, landing lights. Yeah, that's Iona. I mean, we actually got to remember that we haven't got very far to go on these trips. They're quite short distances, so at least I think this is Iona. So things do turn up fairly quickly. So I'm just going to start to pull the power back now. So I want to kind of level off here. We'll bring the props back. Don't want to go too fast if we want to get a good look at Iona. Perhaps if we kind of head for the north end of the island and then sort of turn south, we'll get a good view alongside it. The Abbey, although we could, the other thing we could do is we could actually fly down the sound here between, yeah, let's go for that. Let's go for flying down the sound between Mull and Iona. That's Ben Moore, I think, over there on Mull. Is that the only Monroe on Mull? Only one over 3,000 feet? It might be. It's the only significantly, it's the only one on the map there with a height associated with it. So as I said, I don't know whether Orbix have put the Abbey on Iona or not, or whether we're going to Gonna be able to see it. It's a little bit kind of dull and grey coloured at the moment, everything. Nice views there up into Mull. Just bring the mixture back as well actually, and we'll lean for just past peak EGT. That seems to affect the carb temperature, I guess, of course, because carb temperature is going to depend on the fuel vaporization, and if you've got less fuel going in, you've got less vaporization, so you've got cooler temperatures. Hotter, yeah, less cooling effect. Talk about that maybe if we got time in a bit. Now that's the kind of beach there, I think. Let's turn in now. We're going to miss the island completely. Yeah, it's a very nice beach at the north end of the island, which I think is that one or that one. It could be that one actually. I think the Abbey is over here somewhere. I don't think you can land on Iona. I don't think there's anywhere flat enough, big enough. You can certainly get the ferry over there from here on Mull. Yep, they've done the Abbey, or they've done... can't quite hold that. It may be just a generic... No, I think that's about right. So they have done the Abbey. Cool. There's the road on Iona. Yeah, and that is the beach there at the north that I was thinking of. It's lovely white sand. Let's see if we can have a look at the Abbey. There it is. Oh, no, tell light. There's another road there. Okay. Nice to see Iona again. Now let's head for Colonsay now. If we're kind of coming down here, that should be it over there, I would have thought. And the runway's roughly halfway down, but on the west, which is this side actually. Let's see if we've got any updated weather. Wind is kind of 290 to 350, so I guess we want to come in from the other side. So we need to cross over the island, and maybe we can just kind of join for a right downwind again for runway What's the runway? Hang on a second. How do we run? Runway 28. So let's set our heading bug 280. And my guess is that that sort of chunk there is that bit. Maybe. I think we were just roughly ahead for the middle of the island. We're not going to be too far off. What was the wind speed? At 320 at 16, so it could be a fairly strong, sort of with a strong crosswind component. We should see. We have actually descended a bit, but I'm not too worried about that because we'll need to descend soon anyway to get down to circuit height for the island. Yeah, carb heat. I once had a Volkswagen camper, the air-cooled camper, one of the air-cooled ones with the Beetle engine. It's like a flat 4 air-cooled engine, and it had twin carburetors, and because so the carburetors were right out on the cylinder heads, right at the left and right edges of the engine. So they didn't get much engine heat like you do from the normal single central carb. And driving it in winter once, it just kept cutting out. And you would stop and wait a bit, and it would go again. And I was checking plugs, and I was checking the points, and I think I remember if it had an electric, couldn't have had an electric ignition one if it had points. Anyway, couldn't work out what it was. Eventually twigged when someone who knew a bit more told me, yep, that's probably carb icing. And sure enough, because it was in winter, it was kind of a horrible wet, kind of cold day. After that, what we did, because we had another trip to do in it in similar weather conditions, I'm just going to start descending a bit, was to put some blanking plate things on the air intakes at the back of the camper. So you've got louver air intakes. And I remember stopping on the journey, and I also had a temperature gauge to sort of put them in and out depending on how hot it was. And after that, I didn't get any carb icing, but that's definitely what it was. So the operating manual for this says to use carb heat for 30 seconds if you suspect carb icing, and I think basically that means if the engine runs rough and you're in kind of the right conditions for icing, so you need some humidity. It doesn't have to be too cold because the fuel vaporization in the carburetor actually reduces the temperature of the air as it goes into the engine. So you could get carb icing even fairly warm outside. But anyway, so if it starts running rough, remind me to try carb heat. Otherwise, I'm not going to touch it. Now, I'm just wondering here if that is that's not a runway, because I'm wondering if this is a runway, and of course it isn't because it's too near the sea and it doesn't line up. We're looking for something in this direction. So yeah, we are being blown around a little bit here. Actually, we could always go for a left. Let's go for a left downwind if we can. So we come down here and round. Let's go for that. I'm hoping that we will see. I mean, if the runway is sort of that direction, then we're maybe not see it at the moment anyway because of this high ground. Let's just come down to say about 1,500 feet or so. We'll sort of level off there. QNH is still 028. I think that's what I set it to. Yeah, that looks like some kind of waterfall actually, or markings on the cliffs. Definitely not a runway. I just double check 1028 is 33.6. Yeah, that's what we said. I hope this is Colonsay. Gonna look daft if it isn't. And I carry on descending, and then I say we'll put some power in a minute and just start to level back off about 1,500 feet, and then we'll make a turn in and look for a runway. I think we're okay if we head reasonably far south before we turn in. Maybe this sort of direct point here. Just putting some power back in as we are still descending. Now, is that a settlement there, and could that be a runway? There's some water there, does that give us a clue? Yes, that's probably that, so we need to head further south, I think. Let's just get some prop RPM back. Okay, so that's some kind of settlement. So I think the runway's a bit further. The airport. There it is. There it is. My goodness me. It looks pretty small. Okay. I'll make a turn in a second. So effectively we imagine we've taken off. We're now turning crosswind, we're about to go downwind. Slightly above circuit height, so we can afford to come down a little bit. There's a runway, end of the runway there. So this puts us on our downwind leg. Probably, again, we're a bit far, potentially a bit far out. We're nearly beam with the end of the runway now, so I'm just going to take the power back. I'm going to put props and mixture full forward. Drop the power back, but just keep, let's just pitch up a little bit, because we just want to lose some airspeed here, really. Back to about 15 inches. We're a little bit off as well on direction here. Yeah, let's get that power back further. We need to slow right down. This time I'm going to try going for the flaps at a more sensible speed. Okay, let's turn base. I'm going to put the landing lights back on, and I'm going to put the fuel pumps back on. Let's get a nice steady descent rate going here. We just trim for a steady. We're still quite fast, so I'm going to take more power off and just trim up. Yeah, we're too far. We've definitely gone too far. Kind of lost the runway here. Let's watch our descent rate. Let's try and get trimmed for just a few hundred feet. I think we just need to turn in a minute. If you look at that, we've got the water there, and then the runways are north of that. Let's attempt to turn in now. I think we did drift off on that downwind. Okay, it's now hunt the runway time. I'm going to put in one notch of flaps and just give us a bit more power. Yeah, there's the runway. We're quite a way, so we need to Get some height back. This turns out to be an even bigger circuit than the one yesterday. I've got some quite high ground here in front of the runway as well, so I don't think we want to descend too soon. What I will do is put a final notch of flaps in. I don't think the map's going to help us now. Landing gear is down. Yeah, I can definitely feel a wind. Definitely got a crosswind from the right. So we'll kind of come in crabbing and then try and get the right wing low for landing. I'm not very good at those, so we shall see what happens. Yeah, mixture, props. Speed's not bad. Maybe a little bit fast, but as it's gusty wind, we need to keep maybe about an extra 10 knots anyway, so I'm happy with that. I don't know, would you maybe not use full flaps if you've got a strong crosswind? Don't want to get too low here. Now we need to transition to right wing low for landing. You're a bit off centre now. A little bit fast. Okay, let's attempt to go wing low and left rudder. And more left rudder. And some power. Whoops. And we're not really on the runway. We are wing low. Probably a bit excessive, but we're down a bit late. I'm not sure I would have wanted to continue that landing if I was a passenger. Okay. Let's lean the mixture a bit. We can turn off the fuel pumps. Sure, everyone's absolutely fine in the back. In the cabin. Right. What else do we need to do? Again, we forgot to put this on. I'm going to raise the flaps. Oops, stopped a bit quickly there. And we are off the runway now, so I can turn this back to on. I can turn off our lights. I've already turned off the fuel pumps. Nav lights can come off. Pitos can come off. And there's even a picnic table. And some gas for your barbecue. Let's just park up here. Well, that was an entertaining landing for me at least. I think that's a stop, so parking brake. Engines can stop, generators can come off. that should have been off after we started. Avionics can come off. Passengers are all leaving, so we can turn off cabin lights. What else do we need to do? Just put the trim back. We can turn the mags off. Turn the fuel pumps off already. We turn these off. And I think the battery can just go off now. I think that's everything else off. So yeah, welcome to Colonsay. Hope you enjoyed tonight's flight, and we'll see you next time for the final leg from, well, maybe the second from final if we come fly back from Isla, but from Colonsay to Isla. And okay, goodbye for now, and see you next time.